that everyone, citizens and non-citizens, are entitled to due process?
Well, first and foremost, let me be clear with you. When it comes to due process, that is a privilege reserved for American citizens. When people are in our country illegally, there is a semblance of due process, but not nearly at the level of a United States citizen, of an American. There are two different standards. You come to America, you are a guest in the United States. That privilege can be revoked. And a lot of these illegal aliens were not guests. They showed up at the southern border. Joe Biden abused our laws, ignored our laws, and let them in. And yet, so what are the American people supposed to say about that?
That's Republican Representative Byron Donalds doing what he does best, fact-checking liberal media mouthpieces like Kristen Welker in real time. Welcome to Nerk News. I'm Nerkish, and it looks like establishment media is in full meltdown mode again, this time over Donald Trump daring to enforce immigration law. And their latest talking point is that illegal aliens deserve the same due process rights as American citizens. Here's NBC host and crazy-eyed woman Kristen Welker attempting to trap Byron Donalds with loaded questions about immigration and the Constitution, only for it to once again blow up in her face. Here's Donalds calmly dismantling her fake outrage and calling out the Democrats' long con of flooding the system, then crying foul when someone actually tries to fix it.
Now, I think to the broader question in this entire situation, is it okay for the previous administration to abuse the border security laws, abuse asylum, abuse temporary protected status, open up the country to millions of people, and then hide behind due process where it would take us 15 years to actually process people back out of the United States?
And you're talking about the numbers. You're saying there are so many people here that it would just take too long. But let me ask you, I mean, the Constitution says that everyone who's here is entitled to due process. So I understand there are big numbers that you are talking about and that the president is dealing with. But if you're going to follow the Constitution, don't you have to follow what it says by letter and law?
Well, I think first, the other thing is you have to look at this. When you come in, let's say on an asylum package, that is at the discretion of the administration. The administration is now saying, you know what? We are going to have a legal detainer for you to be deported, and you are going to be removed from the United States. That's under the premise of how you came in. Second thing, every illegal alien that came here, the first thing they did is they broke the law coming into our country. They broke the law. Let's level set here. That's what they did. So there is an orderly process that the president and his team is going through. They're not just rounding up people and dropping them out of the country. That is not true. Everybody that's been deported to this point has had a legal deportation order executed by the president's administration.
You know, it's a little rich watching the same people who helped Biden and Harris turn a blind eye to immigration law now pretend that they care about procedure. Thankfully, Donalds wasn't having any of it, because he laid out what the rest of us have known for a while. The Democrats didn't enforce the law, they flat out ignored it, and the media covered for them every step of the way. And now that Trump is undoing all of that damage and enforcing the law like he said he would, the left is clutching their pearls about due process. Because to them, it's never been about fairness, it's about gumming up the system to stop President Trump from deporting the millions who poured in under their watch. Here's Donald setting the record straight and exposing the left's fake concern for what it really is, a stall tactic.
So the Constitution says any person, not citizen, and therein lies the debate and the root of my question. I mean, does any person just apply to citizens in your mind, or does it apply to citizens and non-citizens? The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, says it applies to citizens and non-citizens.
Well, let's be very clear. First and foremost, when the framers wrote our Constitution, they never envisioned that there would be an executive that would allow millions of people to come into the country illegally. They never fathomed that. Number two, more importantly, you have a situation right now. Is it okay for any administration to not follow the law, abuse border security laws, let millions of people in, and then hide behind the court system to say, well, now they're here, so now we have to go through a lengthy process? Let's examine this right now. Right now, what we know is that when people came into the country illegally, almost 90% of them would not even go to the hearings. So if you're supposed to show up for a hearing and you do not go, what are we supposed to do as a country?
Very quickly, let me just interject, and we're running out of time, and I still have to get to the economy.
Sure.
To your point about the hearings, does Congress need to work harder to get more funding, to get more resources to the courts so that you can better process people who are here, who are undocumented?
In the one big beautiful bill, there will be dollars provided to the administration to speed up the deportation efforts. I will add that one of the things we have to be very sober about is is that the gravity upon which all these people have been brought to our country, it is not physically possible to hire that many judges.
You know, this is where it gets outright laughable. Welker tries to nitpick the word person in the Constitution as if that magically entitles anyone who sets foot here illegally to the full rights of U.S. citizens. And Donalds absolutely shuts her down by pointing out the obvious that most of these people don't even show up to their own court cases in the first place. And just when it looks like he's backed her into a corner, she cuts him off and does what Democrats always do, try to change the subject and suggest that we solve the problem by throwing more taxpayer money at it. I mean, call me crazy, but I find it a little amusing that liberals will find ways to bend the Constitution into a pretzel when it serves their agenda, like inventing rights for reproductive health, censoring speech, or pushing non-traditional marriage. But suddenly they become strict literalists when it comes to giving due process to gang members. I mean, let's not forget that these are the same people who constantly act baffled by the verbiage in the First and Second Amendments because they want to dismantle them. But let me know what you think. Should non-citizens really have the same rights as Americans, or is this just more political theater to block Trump from securing the border? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching.